Hi, this is Rick Isaacs, and coming back to you with my series on enjoying life with ALS. This segment is part 2. I call it strategies. There are some of the strategies that I found most beneficial in my journey through ALS, so I thought I would share them with you. The first thing I wanted to talk about is some of the benefits that these strategies might give for you. Obviously, some of the strategies that are in the plan of care that your ALS clinic or your neurologist might urge you to employ can be life-saving. They can literally save your life and prolong your life. So you want to be particularly interested in those. The second benefit, and this one is very near and dear to my heart, is conservation of energy. Now you might be wondering why I chose a jar full of spoons to illustrate this, but if you're familiar with spoon theory is that you wake up in the morning with a certain amount of spoons, and they represent the energy that you have for the entire day. Now, one morning you might wake up with 30 spoons to spend during the day, and other mornings you might wake up with only 8. But once you utilize that energy by spending spoons during the day, they're gone, and when they're all gone, you're basically done for the day. Now, to illustrate that, when you get up in the morning and you take a shower, well, that uses a lot of energy. It might use up, let's say, 8 spoons. And then getting dressed might use up another 3. And so you're already at 11 and you haven't even started your day. So you want to conserve those spoons during the day as much as you can and use them for things that you absolutely have to do or things that you really want to do. And that's my message, is we want to do the things that we want to do. Another benefit may be simply for life enjoyment. We're going to talk a little bit about being proactive, but a lot of these strategies are proactive in nature, meaning that you get them early so that they're there when you need them, kind of like a fire extinguisher. You want to get it before you need it, rather than need it before you have it. And finally, preventive, a lot of these are just plain common sense, safety-wise in nature. The next thing I want to talk to you about is obstacles that we as ALS and patients might put out to employing these strategies or interventions that might be suggested by your ALS clinic or neurologist. We're an ornery bunch, and we sometimes resist doing things, so we just, for whatever reason, don't think it's the right thing for us. The number one thing, you can see that scary face, is fear. A lot of these interventions can be overwhelming. They might scare us, and you might be afraid of them. And the only way around that is to learn more about it and understand why we're using it and overcome that fear. Another might be you're simply unaware that this strategy exists, and by learning about it, you can employ it out. One of my favorites is that little girl saying, "Hey, that's not me." You know, that's kind of basically when you say you don't think you're ready for that, you're not there yet, and you might say, "Hey, that's not me, that's for somebody else." Well, at some point it really is for you. We all are procrastinators, and it's very easy to procrastinate in some of these things, and you take your time, and sometimes you can procrastinate yourself out of the window where it can be useful. So don't procrastinate. Keep it on the front burner, make a decision, and go one way or the other. Stubborn, well, you know, we all can be stubborn. My wife thinks I'm quite stubborn, and I employ that strategy and throw that obstacle out quite a bit. And lastly, some of these things simply take time. And it might not be instantaneous. It might not be something that you get benefit right away. And it might be something that takes some time to get used to. So you need to take that time and don't give up. The first couple of strategies I wanted to talk to you about fall under a heading what I call battling fatigue. Now, fatigue is one of our biggest problems. It's probably number one on my hit list. You know, a lot of things can make me tired. You know, I once had a neurologist that told me that because of your you know, those fasciculations and twitching in your muscles and the motor neurons firing all the time and your muscles not responding. It's like running a 10K every day. So your body, even when you're at rest, is humming along, burning up calories and using up energy. So battling fatigue is a really major concern for all of us. Probably what I have found to be the most beneficial intervention is using a respiratory assisted device. I call it my BFF. It really is my best friend. And I was lucky, I guess. When I was first diagnosed, I had sleep apnea, and I say lucky because that enabled me to get switch from a CPAP to a respiratory assisted device. The CPAP doesn't work. The C in CPAP means constant pressure, and those of us with ALS find it very difficult to exhale and get rid of the CO2. So constant pressure is not something we want because it's very hard for us to breathe against that constant pressure. So I was immediately changed over to a BiPaP type device that allows me to exhale after the inhale pressure is done. And it greatly reduced my fatigue. I was a new man after that. One of the messages I wanted to give you on the respiratory assisted device is don't give up. It's one of those things that takes time to get used to, and so you want to get it as early as you possibly can, and many times that's as early as your medical insurance will allow it. But it's going to take you some time. You're going to get the machine, and the machine's going to come with, they're going to give you 2 or 3 different types of masks that you're going to try, and you're going to need to get used to it. My message about that is that there are literally hundreds of types of masks. If you were to go out and Google, a CPAP mask on the internet, you come back with many hundreds of hits. And the point of that is that there's going to be one that's right for you. There's nasal masks, there are full face masks, there are partial face masks, and all different shapes and sizes to fit the contours of your face. And you got to find one that's comfortable, that you can first wear all through the night, and eventually you might need to wear it all through the day and all through the night. And that's called NIV, which is non-invasive ventilation. So this isn't, just keep on trying masks and, tell your respiratory therapist, get me another mask, and until you're settled on the one that works for you. So the benefits here, I find that the respiratory assisted device is probably one of the few measures that can actually give you back spoons during the day. Say you're having a tough day, or you've just a lot of energy, you go take a little nap, you throw on your respiratory assisted device, you take a nap, and for maybe a half hour, that's all it really takes, a half hour to an hour, you get up and you feel much more refreshed. So it gives you back spoons. You want to get it early, you want to be proactive with it, and later on it can quite literally be a lifesaver to you by helping you to breathe, which is kind of important. One of the obstacles is many of us think that this is something that is a mechanical intervention, and you don't want to do it. So don't say, that's not me. It's not a tracheostomy. You're putting a mask on, it helps you breathe, it improves your quality of life. Don't be stubborn about it, and just take the time it takes to get used to it. My next strategy for battling fatigue is this wheelchair. It's once again another best friend. It is a huge energy saver. Wheelchairs aren't only for those who can't walk. I can walk. I can even climb stairs with a little bit of help. And the point is, I can't walk very far. And the wheelchair helps me to go greater distances without using that energy up that it takes to walk. Walking takes a lot of your energy. So I want to save that energy to, rather than walk across the street to see my friend, I'll take my chair. And then when I get to my friend's house, I'm not so tired I can't enjoy it. I want to enjoy the time with my friends. So I use the wheelchair for just that. Many times the chair or the features in the chair might not be covered by insurance, and you need to seek out grants or assistance from various organizations that might help you with that. One of the opportunities for grants might come from your chair manufacturer, and sometimes the company that measures and services the chairs for you will have some sort of a grant program for portions of the device. You also might be able to utilize the loan closet from your ALS association. I got my first chair at a loan closet, and I used it for probably 4 or 5 months, getting used to a chair. It also gave me an idea of the features I would like to have in my chair and understand how to use it and be better able to work with the occupational therapist when it came time to order my own chair. And if you absolutely have no other means of getting a chair, sometimes the loan closet can be an opportunity for getting a chair for people that don't have the resources to get their own. Some of the essential options that I have on my chair, one of them is a seat elevator. Now you can't see me operating this because I'm using my foot controller right now because I no longer have the use of my hands. So I employ a foot pedal controller, which basically has a joystick at my foot. But I'm able to select the seating icon, and I have an elevator. Now the elevator brings you up and down. We're going to talk more about that elevator in a moment. But it's a fully articulated seat, and that can be very important, for getting yourself in a comfortable position. It's also important for doing transfers in and out of the chair. You might use it for many other things as well, but a fully articulated seat is very important. The air cell cushion, the cushion I'm sitting on, is a series of air cells, and that helps you not get pressure sores or bed sores as they're called, because it basically evenly distributes your weight across your entire butt. And so it makes, I call these cushions an all-day cushion, whereas the standard types of cushions are basically only good for 2 to 4 hours during the day. I have thigh supports, and I also have a fully articulated headrest that allows you to put the headrest at the angle that's most comfortable for you. You can see there are several joints in there that allow many degrees of motion. A standard headrest basically tilts back and forth and goes up and down, and you can't get them comfortable enough to where it feels good in resting your head. And, like any of your ALS muscles, many times we lose the muscles in our neck. And so the headrest comfort is essential in our comfort during the day. And lastly, I have gel pad armrests here. And these gel pad armrests are more comfortable than the leatherette vinyl that they put on the standard armrest, and you don't sweat as much. And speaking of sweating, I chose to get a fabric seat cover on the back because the leather seat cover, which is more durable, made me sweat, especially in the Alabama heat down here. And in the morning when I got up and I don't have a shirt on, and I'm getting, my wife is working with my feeding tube. If you lean back on a cold leather seat, it sends a shockwave through your system. So I prefer the fabric. So put in for it, no matter whether you think they'll cover it or not. All they can do is say no. You can probably make a case, but at least you should try. The only thing's not covered on here, I have a USB port for charging my mobile devices. I have an iPad holder, which you don't see here today. And of course, the dog in the picture is my own. You can't have her. Let's talk about making the case for a seat elevator. Many times you can make a case that is medically necessary and medically necessary in the home. And one of the benefits of a seat elevator is it can help you transfer from your chair into bed or into another chair in the house, a frequent home application. It also is good for my wife when she maintains and feeds me through my feeding term. The elevator puts her up at a better height for her to do that and make it easier to go through that process. And very simply, using in the home for kitchen access. If you had a seat elevator, you might be able to reach things and locate things so that you can live a normal life in your home. Eye-to-eye communication is important. Many times you might be talking with someone, and so if you're sitting down low, you end up doing things like this and to try to talk with people. Whereas if you had an elevator, you could be at their height. Makes it easier, reduces neck and back pain. Lastly, one of the things that my wife and I use it for is doing physical therapy in the home. I showed you the articulation of the seat. I can raise my feet, lower my back, and angle myself in any way so that my wife can perform physical therapy. Benefit, once again, you save spoons, you're not walking. It's proactive, it keeps you from falling. Lastly, I want to talk about the pride obstacle. It gets its own special slide. I find this especially about men with wheelchairs. You know, you're that big manly guy, and you don't think that being in a wheelchair is a manly thing to do. And you say, oh, wait a minute, I don't need that. You know, I can walk fine, really. Well, I can walk fine, really, but I don't want to fall. And don't kid yourself by saying, well, if I put myself in a wheelchair, that is like giving up that I'll never walk again. Well, I still walk. I'm not giving up. I'm saving energy. And oh, by the way, there's much less likelihood that I'll fall and hit my head. You know I don't have any arms or arm strength anymore. So if I were to fall, or if you have no arms strength, and you were to fall, you're going to hit your head, and that is going to cause untold problems. So don't, put your pride aside and consider the wheelchair for safety's sake.
elegance of his design.